Hey, what's up guys? Light Lace here. The goal of this video is to show you guys a couple of throws. The goal of the end of this video is for you to be able to do a Luigi V, which is this move here. This is going to be the first part of a video series that I will be doing to try to show you guys some of my throw style tactics to be able to flow in the same way that I do and how I go about doing it. So to start is going to be how you're holding your whip. You're going to be holding it out here like this. You're going to want your handle coming out the side as if you're holding a sword, so you want it coming out the top. Otherwise, I'll refer to it as the handle coming out the bottom. There are times where you want to hold it either way, and then there's actually a third way where you hold it. You hold it as if it's a sword coming out the top, but you have it pointing down with your pinky up. There will be specific ways where you'll use that. So first things first is you want to just have your whip here, and you want to be able to keep it in plane. If you spin poi or if you do anything along those lines, you'll want to have good plane control, and you're going to want to stay on this front plane right here. Next thing you're going to do is just practice going around your offhand. So you're going to want to go around twice and then have it go straight down. So if you're having issues with this, you're going to want to just practice just that and then repeating. So just let it go around and then go straight down, and you want it to be hanging off maybe about 6 inches or so. And every time you reset, something you can get used to just out of habit is when you reset, throw this tail side over to your handle side hand. For me, that's my right hand. So I'm going to throw my tail side to my right. That just gets it out of the way and sets it up for the next rotation. So the way this is going to look is you're going to go around, let it stop, and then you're going to let go and just grab your whip, and you can throw this over here. So just around, stop, let go, and grab your whip. And when you're grabbing it, you're going to have your hand out and you just grab it right off there. This will get you a little bit naturally used to just grabbing your whip as it comes down. One thing to note is that you're going to want to go over the whip to grab it. So I'm holding it back here. You're going to want to go over it to grab it so that you go straight out to it. So if the whip is on top of you, you can go straight out and make sure it just gets off of your arm. Or if the whip is underneath of your arm, you can just turn your hand and just go straight there and just grab it there. If you're having issues with it sliding off too quickly, you can just go here and then you can just rotate back around. Just to get the feel of how the whip acts when you are in a handle throw style, you can just go around, stop, and bring it back around. It's going to be very useful for this to be all one fluid motion. So you can start with just stopping and then just using this arm motion to get it to unwind. And then you can move into trying to just wind up, stop, come around. And you just kind of see how the rotation switches directions as it's facing out that way. So as the handle goes out that way, you can just change how your arm pulses and get it to spin around the other way. And just get used to how this offhand arm affects the overall rotation. So if I'm going around, I can use this arm to completely change how it's rotating. So another good thing to practice is to not throw as hard with your handle hand. So if I just lead into it lightly, if I push down, out, and then up, I can get it to continue the motion all the way around. So it's very dramatized here, but it shows you that you can control your rotation speed using that offhand. And that's something that's very, very useful as you're trying to do other things. So again, a couple times, you can just go down into it, and you can rotate off, and you'll just want to get really used to controlling that rotation around the arm. Not so much about your throw speed, but with like the actual movement of that arm. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to work on catching just the handle. For catching the handle, what's going to happen is it's going to go around your arm twice, and I'm going to let go of my tail side. And as soon as you let go of your tail side, it's going to start unwrapping around your arm, and the handle will continue motion in whatever direction momentum is carrying it. If it's wrapped around your arm, it'll continue in a slight arc because of the friction around your arm. If you're only going around once, which to start I always recommend going around twice, just because of that arc that it makes. But if you're only going around once or even half a time, it's not going to follow as much of that motion. It's not going to curve as much. So you're going to want to go around twice, and then you're going to want to practice catching your handle just like a handlebar. So like you're riding a bike, you're going to have your hand catching this way. So of the catches that I said earlier a little bit, just for terminology and for ease of talking, I'm going to say overhand for catching like a handlebar. If you're trying to reach out for something, that's going to be underhand. And then if you're reaching up with your pinky with your hand facing outwards, that's going to be called inverse. Just so that we are all on the same page. You're going to want to eventually learn how to catch your whip in all of those hand positions. Not the handle per se. Handle you'll always catch overhand, but if you're catching by the whip fibers themselves, you're going to want to be able to catch in all of those. So here I'll just show again a couple times going around and catching just the handle, and then to repeat, all you have to do is let the handle slide down, let your hand slide up. So just as you go down, you can just let more slide out. And then as soon as you have enough there to play with, you can just continue its momentum around. And then another thing to notice is, again, I'm throwing that tail side to my right to get it out of the way so that it doesn't wrap around itself. So I'll just show a couple of catches in series, and you can pull out further just so that you have more room where you're not overlapping, which comes very in handy. Here, I'll back up so you can see a little bit more. There, I missed it, which happens. You'll want to just be watching the handle in the air to know where it's going to be at when you reach out to grab it. I find that if you let go a little bit early, if you let go too early, it's going to go far to your left if you're right-handed. If you let go too late, it's going to come around and go straight down. But you're going to want to let go so that the handle will naturally go up in an arc and just arc over to your hand. So just like throwing a ball from one hand to the other, it should be just about that easy. So if you want practice just catching your handle, something you can do is just toss it in the air and just continue just practicing just catching just the handle out of the air. And that'll get you used to finding the handle, catching it, and just being able to consistently grab it out of the air. Whenever I go from my throw style and go back into like lacing, that's all I'm doing is I'm usually doing this one throw, catching it out of the air, and then continuing on for what I'm doing there. So from there, once you get that done, you're able to get that one throw and catch a handle. What you're going to want to do is start learning how to catch it by the fibers and continue to be continuous. Like I said, you can try to be continuous there just with that same throw. Instead of starting with the handle and catching the handle and then letting it slide out as you go down. So again, just let it slide out and you just continue it around from that motion. Instead of doing that, what you can do is catch it the same way and catch it overhand on the fibers and just already be at that comfortable length. So for demonstration, I catch by the fibers and I continue the motion here. And you just always just throw your fibers over to get them out of the way. Also, the fibers will get pretty close to your face as they unwind if you're not too careful about it. I would definitely wear safety glasses. I don't have any right now because I haven't bought any yet, but probably is recommended if you're trying to learn this. Also, be very careful with your handle side. It can hit you in the face. I have done that. It's not very comfortable. But yep, again, just be able to catch it by the fibers and basically do that same pattern. So one thing to note is every time that I'm wrapping around my arm, it's actually spiraling down towards my hand. So as you wrap, it'll go from up your arm to down your arm. They're exaggerated. This will come fairly naturally, and then as you get more and more comfortable, you can get closer and closer and get it to where it's almost non-visible as far as how much you're spiraling down your arm. And then I always try to keep out by my wrist. If you like it up a little bit higher, that's fine too. Or if you like it to spiral more, that's allowed, obviously. But yeah, you can just experiment with if you like it closer or if you like it further away. Sometimes I like to spiral it more just for the effect of that spiral. And like I'll try to like turn towards the person as it's unwinding so that you can see more of that spiral. And then, yeah, you can just continue to catch that way and practice getting your spiral down to where you want it. Once you are used to catching your fibers and continuing around overhand and being able to continue this whole motion this way, the next thing you're going to want to do is to practice catching it underhand. So catching it underhand, continuing around feels a little bit different, but it's kind of almost a little bit easier because you can just use like your pointer finger to just flick it around. It's a lot more natural for me to hold this this way as if it is a sword. As far as spinning the rotation, it's a little bit more awkward to be spinning this way, but it's easier to catch that way. It's more natural to catch overhand to start, especially because that's how you're going to be catching your handle. So once you get comfortable with overhand, just move into underhand and just practice there with underhand. Be able to go from underhand to overhand and just practice that both ways. And then one thing you're going to be able to do once you get that down is once you're catching by the fibers, you can do a little turnaround. So your tail side is going to just do a flick and then go over your arm, and your handle side is just going to rotate out and it's going to change directions out here and just swing back. So it's just going to go out, back in, and around. So the way that's going to look is just like that. This will keep you from hitting yourself in the face with the fibers. Once you get comfortable, you can use that to do your rotations. It adds a little bit of time in between each of your rotations so that you have a little bit of time to think. So like right here, I'm catching it underhand and doing this rotation pattern. I'll try to do it overhand doing this rotation pattern. And you'll notice that once I get out to here, I actually grab on again and let it slide into my hand with my offhand so that I can control this tail side. So from it spiraling, I can actually spiral into my hand so that I have control of that tail side once it unwinds to that point. So once you're comfortable here, catching both ways and doing this little pattern, however you may like, first of all, realize that you can catch your handle and go into flow however you would like. You can catch your handle and go straight into knees. You can catch your handle and go straight into neck. You can catch it and go straight into waist. This is very useful to understand when it's wrapped partially around your arm. You can do any lacing movement where you just need it in that grip, where you're wrapping it around the body part and then grabbing your loop on the back side to bring it around. So that's how you can transition out of the throws, just by catching that handle, go straight into your next body lace. So now we'll talk about how to do the Luigi V. So Luigi V is going to require you to catch inverted. And then after you catch inverted, you're going to continue that rotation around using almost the same motion as your offhand, but obviously with your handle hand. So you're going to go straight into it. So when you have your whip out here, you're going to go up into the fibers, coming straight down your arm and being right close next to your hand. And you go up around and you continue it around this way. So you go straight up into your fibers and then continue your rotation in the same direction it's already going. So the way that's going to look is just like that. And because this takes up a little bit more length in your whip, it won't hit you in the face as often because it will have more to unwind around. And you also don't have to throw your fibers over to that far side because they're going to naturally follow that path. This is one of my favorite little patterns to do. It's a very fun trick to do. It looks very good in the dark, and it's easy to work into stuff. Probably one of my favorite tricks. So yeah, once you get catching inverse, this is the only time I'll really use inverse. You can do inverse for other things if you want to like change direction, or if you want to just do an extra rotation before doing anything else. But I'll always catch inverse and then continue that rotation around the same way. That's what inverse is used for, is for continuing that same motion around and doing a smaller loop. And as I'm throwing, I'm letting out more slack so that I get this whip in the length that I want it to. If it's too short, it won't wrap around twice. But you can use that for bounces and stuff like that. I'll talk about bouncing a little bit more in a different video. Otherwise, it's a little intuitive, but I'll get into detail on it in a different video and show you how I can combo it into different stuff and how it can be used while giving a light show. So again, Louis V, catching inverse, swinging it around. You can catch your handle, and you trace into it. So here I'll just do a little bit of everything that I've showed you in this video to show you how it can all work together. And I'll try not to do anything that I didn't talk about. So yeah, that is the basics of handle throwing. If you get that down, it's a lot easier to do all the other stuff that I tend to do. A lot of it comes back to that basic throw where you want to be able to catch your handle, or catch it overhand, or catch it underhand, or be able to continue it using an inverse throw. Once you can do all of those, a lot of options are opened up as far as being able to just go into a 3-beat weave, or be able to go into pretty much anything else handle throw wise. And then once you're able to catch your handle, you'll be able to go into anything lacing wise. It opens up a lot of freedom. It's a lot of fun. Be careful while practicing. Wear safety glasses if you have them. If you have wooden floors, put down pillows so that you don't bother your neighbors. Be safe and practice hard, and hopefully I see you guys doing some of this. Thank you.